Hi, everybody. Today we're going to look at annotation. I've asked you to annotate the short story that you really want to use, but I haven't really explained what I mean by that. So, once upon a time, back in 2011, I wrote this study skills guide. I'll give you all a copy of this too, just because. But on page 11, there are instructions for how to annotate. So, going to that page. Um, Here we are. And when you do annotation, I suggest that you make it a two-step process. So the first step process is to read through the text and make marks. But the concept is that you read just as fast as you normally read. You just do it and make some marks as you go along. Clearly, you need to be holding a pen while you do that. So here's my little list of marks. I suggest 6. You circle words that are unfamiliar. You use brackets to put around important words or short phrases. You underline complete sentences or paragraphs that you think are important. And then we got 3 other symbols: an X next to something you don't like, a question mark next to something you have a question about, and an exclamation point next to something that you find surprising or interesting. Just remember that you always continue to read. So these are quick shorthand markers that you'll go back to and that you'll address later. So here's my example from a short story by Flannery O'Connor, and it's called Everything That Rises Must Converge. So you'll notice that I've just underlined this phrase, reducing class. That should have been brackets, I guess, but I've noted it. I've put brackets around this phrase here. There's that repeated phrase. I've got this, all she did for him, and I've got this in 2, it's bracketed because it's repeated. And then other phrases. I'm not sure. I've circled this, I think, because I think it's the wrong word. I think that was actually a typo. Um, Here, I underlined some stuff, but I broke my rule and I wrote POV, which stands for point of view here. But you get the sense that, I'm writing, and most of the time, my marks, there's a question mark there, most of my marks don't have anything beyond either the symbol, but there's no notes being taken on the first layer. That'll take you as long as it takes to read the story. And then the second layer is something else. So one of the things, though, is I know if you practice this technique, you'll read just as fast as you always do, and later on, you will save the time that other people spend looking for things. Remember, in the exam, you're going to have a pretty short amount of time, so you don't want to have to be searching for passages that you find interesting or meaningful. For step 2, it shouldn't take very long, 10 to 20% of the time that you spent reading it the first time around. So if you circled a word because you didn't know what it meant, then you write what the word means. If you put something in brackets or underlined it, make a note to yourself about why you did that. And then if you've got any of these other symbols, an X or a question mark or an exclamation point, just explain what that is. That extra layer of notes continues to be a huge time saver later on. So here are the notes that I added. So one of the things I cheated, and I circled the name of the character because I thought it was important. And after I thought about it, I figured it was worth noting. I made a note about this phrase that's repeated several times, reducing class, and I actually started counting them. There are very many of them. I just noted that there was repetition here. So these are all little notes. By the way, this was a typo. It wasn't mood, it was stood. So I've got in red, you'll see, I made notes that explained the underlines or the other small marks that I made. This question mark is here, and then I wrote a question out. Oops, now you'll notice I forgot to write a note here, but it's this phrase coming and going, and it's here too. So I just wasn't sure what that meant. So that's layer two. And then I said this is a two-layer process, and that'll get you pretty far. If you do go back, and if you're taking a test or writing an essay, which we are, then it's worthwhile to do a third layer. So after you've spent the time of making your marks and writing your comments on it, then you can actually annotate your annotations, and that's layer three. Those are in black, you'll notice. And what I've done is added notes that I discovered when I read a couple articles about this story. So I read a couple scholarly articles that informed me a little bit, and I wanted to make some notes on those. Um, so that's what I did. Anyway, I hope that this has been useful to you and it explains the process of annotation. I'll also include my study skills guide and a copy of the story for your enjoyment. Take care.